Good morning, Rotarians and guests.
Good morning, Ron.
I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Liz Ramsey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Let's pray. We honor you, God, the awesome creator of mankind, all races, all religions, and all countries. We are all a gift to the world, so let's count our blessings and realize we were made in your image. We're living in trying times, but we thank you that your love never ceases, and thank you for blessing this group. And thank you for blessing us with a healing night's sleep as we continue to pray for the leaders of the world's countries, and as we Rotarians work with different countries to eliminate polio and provide water, among other things. Let's keep encouraging each other. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Liz. And now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Larry Santon.
Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test, first, is the truth. Second, care of all concerned. Third, goodwill and friendship. Will it be beneficial to all?
I gave you 8 minutes to rehearse, and you blew it.
Actually, you may recall my story about submarines, and I thought I would start that again.
Boy, I'll tell you. How long have you been a member? And lead us in song, Dick Pearsall, and there'll be no mistakes here.
Yeah. That's still a little farther along. Okay, there we go. With the debates coming up tonight and all a feeling of national loyalty, I saw an article in the paper. It said that the ladies of the Daughters of the War of 1812 were declaring September 14th week the National Star-Spangled Banner Week. And I looked at that and I thought, well, the story goes back that Francis Scott Key was in a situation where he was held by the British, and he sat all night, but he was able to hear and listen what was going on the siege of the Fort McHenry. And but as a result, he wrote this poem, The Defense of Fort McHenry, which was later changed to the Star-Spangled Banner, and then they put some music to it, and it been around for a long, long time. This is from 1814. Finally, in the 1930s, Congress got together, and President Hoover signed the law making the Star-Spangled Banner the national anthem. So thinking about what he was listening to and watching that night, it makes the words to the Star-Spangled Banner a little more definite. So here we're going to start in the right key. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose was stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly gleaming, and the rockets would glare, the drums were singing in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still. Now here it comes. Oh, say does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Okay, Jake.
Thank you, Dick. And now our president, Joe Avella.
Thank you, Ron, and good morning, Rotarians and guests. Good morning, Joe. And thanks, Bob, and for leading us in those songs. To start off this morning, I'd like to introduce Chris Barker, our secretary, who will introduce our guests.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests.
Good morning, Chris.
First, I would like to introduce those that have visited with us again. If they could please stand up so we can give them a nice warm welcome. We have Lonnie Banner and Jamie Cosman from Hudson Service Learning. And then we also have Mimi Becker joining us again. Thank you. And then if the following Rotarians would please bring their guest forward so that they can give a brief introduction. We have Ed Sogan with Walt Schwartz, Rich Warfield with Matt LaFountain, and Joe Avella with Jay Yard.
Before I introduce Walt, I wanted to point out again, it's the homecoming game this weekend. If you are going on Friday night, the game starts at 7. Get there early. There should be a packed crowd against Nordonia. It's also our Hall of Fame weekend, and we have our inductees introduced at 6:40 prior to the game. So we're excited about the 7 inductees. You'll see them on the front page of today's Hub and read a little bit about their accomplishments. These are the distinguished alumni Hall of Fame, and we're very proud of all 7 of them and everything they've done in their lives and continue to do. Walt Schwartz is here from San Bernardino, California, the mountains of San Bernardino, if you know the area. It's up by Big Bear Lake. Walt is a retired public school administrator in the state of California, 50-year friend of mine, a graduate of the Fountain of Knowledge, Heidelberg University, and his biggest accomplishment to date is his roommate his freshman year. Oh, that would be me. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to introduce to you Jay Yard. This is Jay's second visit with us. Jay is from the Connecticut area. He's a retired financial... Pittsburgh. Oh, Steelers. Pittsburgh. That's right. He's a Steelers fan. He's a Steelers fan. Moved here to be closer to his grandchildren. Correct. Is that right? Yeah. And retired financial advisor. So we welcome Jay back. Thank you. Sorry.
Jay, Evan, McCauley, and I are on the committee, membership committee, and we have 8 or 9 things that you have to meet in order to come in the club, and one of them is not to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. We're going to convert you. I don't know to what, but certainly not a Browns fan. And then, where's Walt? 50 years with Ed Sogan. Do you still have it together? Congratulations. Matt is the son of Arthur, and Arthur's been a long-time Rotarian here at our club, and Matt was a former bean counter with Hill, Barth, and King, and he went to the good side, not the dark side, which is the accounting. So now he's into the financial advisory service area with his father. They're a team. Did I say everything correctly?
That was perfect.
Anything else you want to share? How many kids? How many wives?
One wife, 2 kids.
One wife.
Don't flip them.
One wife and 2 kids. Boy, girl?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
Meet Art for the whatever number of time.
A few weeks ago, of course, you'll remember Bob Hills was here, and we awarded him as an honorary Rotarian. I received a little note to all of us, which I'd like to read. Rotary Club of Hudson it is with humility and appreciation beyond belief that I received the honorary Rotarian award on August 19th. As expressed, I truly feel there are many other committed and dedicated Hudson Rotarians who signify service above self. I will honestly attempt to dignify this honor and will be forever grateful for this recognition. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Bob Hills. So that was very nice. That was very nice of Bob. We are continuing with our tradition of the 3-minute Rotarian, and today is Stu Murray. Want to come up, Stu?
Good morning, Rotarians. Good morning. My name is Stuart Murray. I was born in Los Angeles, California, back in the early 20s, making me 93 years old today. It's not my birthday, but that's how old I am. I started my education very strangely. I went to 3 first grades. One in a place called New London, Connecticut, another one in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and finally I finished it in Santa Barbara, California. My father was in the armed forces, so he moved around a lot and went to many schools, in 6 different high schools. I finally graduated late from Santa Barbara High School. However, in 1939, I joined the Navy in July. In September of that year, World War II started. Not the U.S. participation, per se, but the war started. And I had some various duties. One I did was flight training. I went through the ground school at St. Mary's College in Moraga, California. I went down to Los Alamitos, just outside of Long Beach, Naval Air Station there. And I soloed, but that's as far as I got. They didn't like my flying. They say I flew like a bull in the china shop. I got an appointment to the Naval Academy and went to the Naval Academy in 1943. Graduated in 1946, the last 3-year class. Had 20 years commissioned service, retired in 1966 from the Navy, and went to work for General Electric and put a 19-year career there and managed to retire a second time from General Electric. My Rotary history has been that I joined the Groton, Connecticut Club in the early 1980s. I worked through the chairs and was president of the club on the year 89 to 91, to 90 rather, and then joined transferred to this club when I came here to Laurel Lake, and I gather about 09, I believe it was. My family history is I met a girl and got married in the Hawaiian Islands, and we had 5 boys, no girls. I have 3 sons still living. One is the president of Zale Jewelry Store. Another one owns a newspaper in Connecticut. And my oldest is talking about retiring and taking a franchise in some business. But he's been working in a telephone company, which I think you all have seen it. Tote boards in the broker's office. He's been working with different companies, converting those from a 2-wire to a 4-wire system. And I think in a nutshell, that's my information and career.
Thank you, Stu. It's always amazing the breadth and depth of the experience of our fellow Rotarians. So, yes, Phil.
Stu, what's your age? What's your age? 93. 93? Congratulations. What rank did you retire from in the Navy? Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. Okay, so next week, our 3-minute Rotarian will be Gail Royster. But we're going 2 weeks out to give everybody enough time to prepare. Oh, and just pulled it out of the hat. The week after that, it's George Snyder. Will you be here, George? You will not be here. You're going to go on and put you back in the pot here. Okay. Okay, Dan Williams. Come on, Dan. You can do it. Okay, so it's Dan Williams the following week. Okay, this being the 3rd week of the month, it's always a pleasure to have some of our service learning students here from Hudson High School. And I'd like to call upon Lonnie Banner and Jamie Cosman to come up and introduce their students.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So happy to see you. I hope you had a fantastic summer. Mine was filled with vegetables and chickens and a 9-month-old puppy. It was wonderful. But we're very excited about this year's service learning class. We've got 65 students who are all enthusiastic about committing their time to the community. And actually last evening we had, oh goodness, like 12 students on their own time working down at First Glance, which is a center in inner city Akron that assists teen mothers and their children. So everybody's really going above and beyond, so we're very pleased with the way this year has begun. And then Jamie's going to say something and he's going to introduce our kids. So, yes, you. Yes, you can. Go for it.
You have to jump up and down.
Jumping jacks, too? So I just wanted to say thanks for welcoming me back. This is the first time I've actually come up, but last year you let me be a nice participant from the back, so I appreciated that. I do want to thank you for your support throughout service learning. Last year was my first year associated with the program, and it's great to see the support that we have throughout the community. It's great to see really like where these kids can go, because you're basically the adult version of our program, which I think is really amazing. So that's really all I wanted to say. We've got 2 young ladies who are going to step up and say hey to you. They're going to tell you about their sites, just like always.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Fox, and my service site is Haven of Rest Homeless Shelter. I personally work at the Harvest Home, which is the home for the women and children. And I basically just do whatever they ask me to do when I get there. It's always different because a lot of people are moving in, moving out. Sometimes there's 30 people, sometimes there's less, sometimes there's way more. And but I do beds. I went last week. It was a little girl's 5th birthday, so my job for the week was to make a birthday cake and decorate it, and that was really fun. I help the kids with homework when they get back from school. And yeah, so I'm mostly focused on working with the children.
Hi, I'm Bella Morelli. My service site for this semester is the Valor Home in Akron, and that's a homeless shelter for veterans. And every Wednesday I go there, and they just give me projects that they want me to do, and I do it willingly. Last week I started on writing down what these bricks say. Like, people bought bricks as like a tribute to their like flag memorial. And so I had to write down what all the bricks said, and now this week I get to put it in a worksheet, a spreadsheet, and then so they can get more bricks for everybody and make sure everybody has bricks. And then every week that I go there, I eat lunch with all the veterans, and I enjoy to talk to them and spend more time with them. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for our lovely ladies?
College plans?
My college plans, I want to be an English teacher, so I'm going to apply to college soon, and hopefully I'll go to the University of Cincinnati. That's where I want to go right now.
I want to be a special ed teacher. Special needs children have a special place in my heart because my sister has special needs. And I'm looking at Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Ashland University.
So thank you for coming today. So I'd like to move into our program for today, and I will call upon Roseanne Drake to introduce our distinguished speaker today.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning, Rotarians.
It is my great pleasure today to introduce to you Patty DePompey. And Patty was appointed president of University Hospitals, Rainbow Babies and Children's, and McDonald Women's Hospital in October 2012. UH Rainbow Babies and Children's is an internationally acclaimed children's hospital founded in 1887 with the mission of promoting the health and wellness of babies and children. In the most recent 2015 Pediatric U.S. News & World Report rankings, Rainbow was highlighted as one of the best children's hospitals in the country in a number of specialties, including number 3 in the nation for the care of newborns. Founded in 1891, UH McDonald Women's Hospital is one of only 11 full-service women's hospitals in the country and the only hospital in Ohio dedicated solely to women's health. How wonderful that we have this wonderful health care here right in our backyard. Patty has held a variety of positions within health care over the past 30 years, including management positions in pediatric and neonatal intensive care and human resources. Patty is a registered nurse, earning her bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Toledo, a master's in parent-child nursing from Kent State, and completed the Executive Management Series in Healthcare at Case Western Reserve University Weatherhead School of Management. Patty has served on a number of regional and national programs related to the health and wellness of children and families. Patty was appointed to a 3-year term to the American Hospital Association section for Maternal and Child Health Governing Council and was recently elected to their chair-elect position. She was appointed to the Children's Hospital Association National Solutions for Patient Safety Board in 2015. She has served in a number of local organizations, including serving as chair of the Cleveland March of Dimes March for Babies Walk, leader of the University Hospitals of Cleveland United Way campaign, board member of the Centers for Family and Children, and is part of the incoming Leadership Cleveland class of 2016. Patty and her husband Paul reside in Aurora, and they are the proud parents of 2 sons. So please, let's give a warm Rotary welcome to Patty DePompey.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. It truly is a delight to be here, and I was so impressed with the beginning introductions and clearly your mission and your dedication to service and volunteerism within our community. It's so important. As was mentioned, I've been appointed the president of Rainbow, or was appointed the president of Rainbow McDonald back in 2012, and I consider it very much a privilege. I know next week you will have the opportunity to hear from a dear colleague of mine, Bill Considine, who's going to be speaking to you about the future of pediatric health care. So today I chose to take a slightly different tact. I'm going to introduce to you from whence we came. And like all industries, you'll see that the field of pediatric health care has changed tremendously. What I hope to do today in a brief period of time is to highlight the many, many different programs and services that are dedicated to the health and welfare of children and babies. But first, I'm going to start with a bit of historical background. And what you see before you is truly the beginning of Rainbow. And as you could see, we did come from very humble beginnings. The picture on the left represents the first Rainbow Cottage, which, for those of you who are familiar with the Cleveland area, was actually located on a poultry farm on the corner of East 105th and St. Clair Avenue. Rainbow was formed by a group of 9 young women who at the time called themselves the Circle of the King's Daughters. This was an international organization that was committed to serving others. And this group of young women chose as their mission and chose as their name Rainbow. And they desired to make a difference in the lives of children and families. On the right, you see one of our first patients. Rainbow then, as time progressed, really began to think very thoughtfully about how we could make a difference in the life of the community. What you see on the left is actually one of our first milk wagons, and that is located in front of now a newly renovated building, and that was the first Rainbow Babies and Children's Dispensary. On the right is a nurse dispensing care to a number of women and their babies. We partnered at the time with a number of organizations in the community, including the Visiting Nursing Association, the Hebrew Benevolent Society, and the Humane Society. All of those organizations were committed to making a difference for moms and babies. At the turn of the century, right around 1907, 200 out of every 1,000 babies in the community did not survive until their first birthday. And much of the reasons behind that was what at the time was called infantile sickness. So there was fever, there was contaminated milk supplies. And so the early founders of Rainbow recognized very quickly that we couldn't deliver care within the hospital walls. We really needed to reach out into the community and partner with others. That's a theme that continues to this very day. Next, on the left is a picture of one of our nurses. I actually began my nursing career back in 1985, and I could tell you when I first started, we used to dress just exactly like that. That's not the case today. But this is actually a nurse in what was the forerunner for our neonatal intensive care unit. We opened our first premature nursery in 1952. However, prior to that, the most ill babies would be congregated together. On the right is a picture from our orthopedic ward. That was in a cottage. That's back in the 1930s. Many of the Rainbow early orthopedic surgeons were actually renowned throughout the country. And again, that trend continues today. I think it was Liz that mentioned that we are focused on eradicating polio throughout the country. Polio at the time caused tremendous morbidity in children, lots of crippling conditions. There weren't good surgical procedures to adequately address scoliosis of the spine, for example. And so this cottage, this floor in Rainbow, really became dedicated to research and clinical care for children with orthopedic conditions. And again, that served as the forerunner for many of the surgical procedures that now occur today, many of those on an outpatient basis. On the left, are two leaders of the field. I was blessed to work with both of them, Dr. Marshall Klaus and Dr. John Kennel, both of whom, again, are known not only throughout the country but internationally. Dr. Kennel passed away last year at the age of 95. Both of them were extraordinary gentlemen. What they became known for, Klaus and Kennel, was really recognizing the importance of moms and dads and bonding with their baby. So for those fathers in the room, many of you may not have had the opportunity to attend the delivery of your baby. Thanks to the work of Dr. Klaus and Kennel and research that was done in the 1950s and 60s that showed how important it was to establish those early bonds, now it would be unheard of not to welcome a father or a mother or actually an extended family in the delivery room today. We recognize how important those early moments are. On the right is a picture. Now we're going up in years. Now we're in the 1960s. And this is a picture from one of our early neonatal intensive care units. The nurses that you see are working now in isolettes, so you could see the equipment and the technology is beginning to advance. What you can't see here is the fact that many of the babies that we care for now do not require mechanical ventilation anymore. We actually are able, once the baby is born, to instill a substance called surfactant in their lungs. There's a tube that's inserted in their trachea. We puff the surfactant down into their lungs so that they don't require mechanical ventilation. It helps their lungs open up easier. And then the way we support them is through nasal CPAP. Many of you may use CPAP in your homes. Back in the late 1960s at Rainbow, two of our neonatologists, with collaboration with biomedical engineers at Case Western, developed teeny tiny prongs that we could use in the babies, so we can deliver nasal CPAP in the babies as well. It's much less traumatic for their lungs. And now we flash forward to today. This is Rainbow on the left. We're located on Adelbert Road off of Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. And we are part of University Hospital Health System, and we have a very simple mission that all of our team knows, and it's to heal, to teach, to discover. We always say the order of that mission is very important. First and foremost, it really is about healing. Every baby, every child, every adult who comes to us seeking care, we focus on their healing. Next, it was wonderful to see the high school students here today. We welcome literally thousands of students every year in a variety of professions, whether it's medical residents, nurses, social workers, therapists. We also offer a school program for our students, so we have education students. We're very committed to teaching the next generation of providers. And then lastly, and what I will share with you, is we are absolutely committed to contributing to the body of knowledge for the care of children, and so we have a very, very active and robust research mission. Rainbow has grown significantly since that first cottage that I showed you, in addition to our main campus, which consists of 244 beds. We also have 16 pediatric medical divisions and 11 pediatric surgical specialties. Pediatrics was far behind our adult colleagues, so many of these pediatric medical and surgical specialties just became known in the last 4 decades. We require that all of our physicians are board certified in their pediatric specialty. Likewise, we've moved beyond our main campus, and so we have a very broad care network. We provide Rainbow services at 12 emergency departments, 5 pediatric surgery centers, as well as 7 urgent care centers, and we also have primary care physicians located in over 60 pediatric offices, so much, much bigger and broader than that first cottage. We recognized a few years ago when I was asked to assume the role of president, I took a careful step back and I inquired into the community, and what I heard from a number of community members is Rainbow is wonderful, and if my child is very, very sick, we will come downtown to Cleveland, and without doubt, that's where we would want to be. However, what I heard loud and clear from members in the community is, Patty, you're too far. Downtown is too far for us. Could you bring those services closer to home? So in April of 2014, we did open a Rainbow program at Ahuja Medical Center, which is located on 271 and 422. And this truly is Rainbow. We lease the space, and so it is Rainbow nursing staff, Rainbow child life workers, Rainbow physicians, and it operates under our Rainbow license. Likewise, I heard loud and clear from our West Side community, you're too far, can you bring Rainbow closest to us? And so we opened a Rainbow unit at St. John Medical Center. Depicted here is one of our wonderful pediatricians, Dr. Strosaker, with our first patient when we opened the center. Both Rainbow at Ahuja Medical Center and Rainbow at St. John are really meant to care for children who have less acute diseases. And so if you think of the #1 reason why children are hospitalized today, most of them relate to respiratory issues, asthma, bronchiolitis, croup, pneumonia, etc. Both of these sites can very, very well care for the children and the babies in that community, and so we can serve most of the needs very close to home. I mentioned our healing and our teaching and our research mission. I'd like to share with you some statistics relative to teaching and research. We are a very, very large center. We have over 542 faculty, as you see there, over 1,300 pediatric specialists now. We are the primary pediatric affiliate of Case Western Reserve University. And what does that mean? It means that our faculty, if they're the chair of our Department of Pediatrics, for example, they're the chair of the Department of Pediatrics at Case. And we collaborate together on research. Last year, Rainbow was ranked #3 in the country in terms of number of successful grants obtained through the National Institute of Health. I will make mention of NIH funding. Perhaps you followed it in the news. With all of the budget difficulties that the government has had, funding that's been dedicated to research, and particularly pediatric research, has really decreased significantly. And so in order to attain funding, you truly have to have an exceptional program. And so the fact that we were able to successfully achieve 114 grants is pretty significant, and that totaled over $33 million in funding. In addition, 2 of our young pediatric specialty fellows actually obtained what are called T32 grants, which are training grants, and that will provide over $2 million annually for 5 years, again enabling us to train that next generation of healthcare providers. It was mentioned that I'm part of the solution for patient safety, and this is something that we hold close to our heart every day. To care for a tiny baby, some of the babies we care for are 400 grams, which for those of you who are familiar with the metric system, it's under a pound. We care for babies who are 11, 12 ounces sometimes at birth, all the way up to big, strapping teenagers and young adults who could be 300 pounds. And so the complexity of what we do can be quite challenging. So safety has to be first and foremost on our mind every day. And we're very proud that we have joined in with 80 of our children's hospitals nationally on a program called Solutions for Patient Safety, which was funded by the Cardinal Health Organization. But it really focuses our thoughts, our attention on becoming a highly reliable organization. I heard that Stu had a background in the Navy. We've learned a lot from our colleagues in the naval industry, the nuclear industry, on how we could make the hospital safer. And so every day we start out our day in the hospital with a quick 15-minute roll call that goes through every division, every department. Are there children that we're concerned about? Is there technology that we're worried about? Are there patients and families who are expressing concern? And then we follow up very, very promptly. Because of this work, we have significantly reduced the numbers of times a baby or child is harmed in any of our hospitals across the country because of something we did or something we failed to do. McDonald Women's Hospital. McDonald Women's Hospital is part of the campus of University Hospitals of Cleveland, and it's physically connected to Rainbow. Why is that important? What we find, and what has been demonstrated in many studies, is that if a mom is experiencing a high-risk pregnancy and is experiencing medical complications, the outcome for both mom and baby is significantly better if you can get the mom to a site that has both high-risk neonatal care and high-risk maternal care. It makes sense. What we're finding today is because of some of the challenges that women face in our society, we are seeing a very greatly increased risk of high-risk pregnancies. Many of you may have read the study last week that was published that now over 50% of the U.S. adult population either has pre-diabetes or diabetes. In pregnancy, that can be deadly to both mom and baby. And so when we detect that mom is having issues, we want to make sure we move mom to a site, such as McDonald, where if there's problems with either mom or baby, we can address them quickly. And so on the left, you see Dr. Honor Wolf with one of our patients. She's caring for the mom over at McDonald Women's Hospital. On the right, you see one of our precious babies in our neonatal intensive care unit. And literally, they are just steps away. I can share with you right at the top picture, that hallway, that's the neonatal intensive care unit in Rainbow. And literally, when our pagers go off that there's a mom having a high-risk pregnancy or delivery, our team from the NICU literally just has to open that door, and we're in the labor and delivery room. And so again, it's good high-level care for both mom and baby in minutes. Depicted here are the Fowler family, and I'm just going to highlight a few of our clinical programs beyond the NICU, and one of those is our pediatric hematology and oncology program. This is Chuck and Shar Fowler with their beautiful daughters, Holly and Chan. Chuck and Shar had a third daughter, and her name was Angie, and Angie passed away tragically at the age of 14 to melanoma. This was many, many years ago, but what Chuck and Shar dedicated their lives to doing was finding a cure for those cancers that disproportionately hit adolescents and young adults. And so through their generosity, we were able to create a special institute called Angie's Institute, and we've been able to dedicate resources in terms of research. Some statistics on that I wanted to share with you. This was shared last year during Cancer Awareness Week. This year, over 70,000 young adults in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer. That's one young adult every 8 minutes. However, despite the great strides in survival rates we've made for very young children and for adults like ourselves in terms of cancer survival rates, the statistics for someone diagnosed with cancer between the ages of 15 and 39 have not moved. They're actually flat. And there's been lots of reasons hypothesized as to why that may be so. We believe that a lot of the reasons are that young adults are very busy, they're just starting their lives, they're graduating from high school, they're entering college, and so the first thing that they or their physician would think of definitely isn't cancer in the differential diagnosis. So many of those diagnoses are delayed. And likewise, many young adults have cancers that originate in a pediatric basis. So they're actually genetic, they're embryologic, they would have started when they were forming as a fetus, and so many of those treatments are best managed using pediatric protocols, not adult protocols. So it becomes a very challenging issue. And so, again, as I mentioned, through Chuck and Shar and many members in our community, wonderful generosity, we were able to create the Angie Fowler Adolescent and Young Adult Institute at Rainbow. What you see depicted here is actually the 7th and 8th floor of Rainbow, and what we wanted to ensure is that we created a physical environment that was as welcoming and as joyful to our very youngest patients. Our youngest patient diagnosed with cancer in the last 2 years was only 28 days old, as well as to older patients that we care for. We wanted an environment that met both of those diverse age needs. We also wanted to ensure that we're contributing to the research so that every child, every young adult who's entered into Rainbow is enrolled in a clinical trial and is part of the Children's Oncology Group clinical trial so that we could learn and improve those survival rates. What I'm going to show with you next is the fact that we are gaining widespread recognition for our efforts. This idea of focusing a treatment, a cure for adolescents and young adults is really resounding. And this was an editorial that was in the New York Times back in April. And many of you may have remembered The Who from the 60s and the 70s, and the leader of The Who, one of the leaders, was Mr. Roger Daltrey. Roger has dedicated his philanthropic efforts to creating awareness around this idea of adolescent and young adult cancers and the need for better research. And Roger wrote an editorial into the New York Times that one of the leading facilities that is providing that care is located right in Cleveland, Ohio at Angie's Institute. So we were, number one, proud to receive that recognition, but that's not what's important. What is important is that we create increased awareness so that we can dedicate resources, and particularly research dollars. Next, I'm going to play a video, or James is going to play a video for me, that actually is being shown all over the world. And it depicts one of our lovely, lovely patients. Her name is Danielle. Danielle is a cancer survivor. Danielle was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer right when she was just beginning her adult life, when she was 18. And Danielle is going to walk you through the Angie Fowler Institute, and you're going to see some of the materials that we used.
Facebook. When designing the Angie Fowler Institute, we tasked architects for two critical things. One, to create a safe space, and the second was to create a space that was really uplifting, life-affirming, that would improve emotional and physical well-being for our young adults.
When you come in here, it was colorful and kind of a teen mood going on. It just made you feel happy when you work.
Teens, when they come into this space, are often in a place of emotional darkness. So we use the idea of light as a counterpoint.
The more ambient light that you can incorporate, the better the mood, the emotional well-being of the patients who are going through that space.
We never conceived of this space as a sterile clinical environment. We always thought of it as more of a boutique hotel. DuPont Corian became the backbone of the project. We're using it extensively throughout.
Corian is a remarkable material and is suitable for the healthcare environment. It is non-porous and it doesn't promote the growth of bacteria. I think it has a calming and healing effect. When you use materials that allow light to pass through and to warm the environment.
I don't know that you could ever come to a place and be told you have a diagnosis of cancer and expect to have an uplifting experience. I think we've created an environment that permits that.
When I found out that I was cancer-free, I was like, are you crazy? Of course I went and I had to make a status on Facebook. Now that I'm a survivor, you can't stop me now.
You know, every day, that is what's so important, is to hear stories like Danielle's and to know that we can contribute to making a difference in the life of someone so that they could go on and lead their life. But as you can see, the physical environment is as equally important as the research and the clinical care that goes on. And so constantly, we're balancing the clinical, the healing, the teaching, the contributing to research, but also ensuring that the experience is as uplifting as possible. The narrator for that was Dr. John Laterio, who's our division chief for pediatric oncology, and John joined us from the National Institutes of Health in Washington. And he was such a strong proponent and advocate that we needed light, life-affirming space, and it truly is making a difference. Another area in which we are making a difference is contributing to the knowledge and the awareness of pediatric trauma care. Every day in the United States, many, many children are harmed or killed as a result of trauma, and in fact, trauma is the leading cause of death in children under the age of 12. Rainbow serves as a level 1 trauma center. We're the only level 1 trauma center in Northern Ohio. Why is that important? It means that we can care for the most severely injured child, but even more importantly, we've also committed ourselves to contributing to the knowledge of others. And so we have requirements in terms of teaching and contributing to research. Every year we admit about 3,000 children who are admitted to us because of severe trauma or significant trauma. And the children come to us through a variety of mechanisms. Currently, Rainbow serves predominantly a 15-county region, although we admit children from all over the state, and we also see some international patients. But we can move children via ground or via air as well. But in addition to diseases like prematurity or challenges like prematurity, like cancer, like trauma, Rainbow also has a vast number of specialists who really focus on treating those most common conditions. And here you see two of our physicians who are focused on endocrinology in the upper left. Many children, as I mentioned, over 50% of the adult population is diabetic. We're seeing that same trend in children, and so we have to focus on endocrinology needs as well. And then we also treat things like sleep disorders and very common childhood things like I fell off the monkey bars and broke my arm. We make sure that we have a team that's ready to respond regardless of how significant or minimal the issue might be. But I use a note of caution. Minimal is never something you say to a mom and dad, because if it's a broken fingernail and it's something, if it's your baby, your child, your world stops, and we recognize it and we appreciate that. In addition, about 3 years ago, Rainbow was awarded a $12.7 million grant for the Center for Medicare Medicaid Innovation Team. And this grant was given to enable our work in focusing on how could we deliver that primary care, that most routine care, in a most cost-effective manner and drive down cost. We committed to reducing the number of times a child came to the emergency room, because we committed to establishing a more effective way of treating children in their primary care office. And I'm very proud to say we're being audited right now. The results will be published, but needless to say, I can share with you that as a result of these efforts, we have driven down cost. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to share two more slides. One is from a global impact standpoint, from a research standpoint. This is Dr. Michael Constant. Dr. Constant is a pediatric pulmonologist. He has dedicated his life to the cure of cystic fibrosis. Earlier this year, the results of a clinical trial with a drug that was developed through Dr. Constant's effort was published. It's called Orkambi. Orkambi is making a significant difference in the lives of patients, including children and adults with cystic fibrosis, enabling them to lead an easier, more productive life. We're in Hudson, so I needed to share with you, despite the fact that Rainbow at main campus is downtown in University Circle, we have a number of offices, including one here in Hudson, led by Dr. Doug Hackenberg. We are very proud of our commitment to the community for over 128 years. We promise to continue that commitment to all of you and to all of your family, and we look forward to the opportunity to serve. And with that, I conclude. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to answer any questions, whatever you might have. Yes?
Quick question. Is there a way that through the schools we can disseminate some of this information, example about the signs of cancer, that get that early detection?
No, thank you for that question, James. Yes, we, on a routine basis, welcome children in from schools, but even more importantly, we go out to schools to share that information, and we're happy to make connections with any school system, including Hudson. If you have ideas on how we can disseminate that information more readily, please know we're happy to do that.
I guess I'm next. Thank you very much for your comments. We're seeing in the general hospital a lot of consolidation. Akron General just announced last week with clinic. How about in pediatric? Are we seeing the same things between you and children, say, in Akron? Are we seeing consolidation in the future?
Thank you for that question. I can share with you in the state of Ohio, we have 8 children's hospitals, and we have a population of children that isn't necessarily growing. If you look at the amount of expertise that is required to care for a child in the specialization, there is some degree of consolidation occurring. What we are seeing is that children who about 50% of children would have been cared for in adult hospitals, even in the last couple of years, versus a children's hospital. And what we're seeing is that the adult hospitals are recognizing they really don't have the expertise or the ability to manage children, and so they're referring children to us. So actually, both Rainbow and Akron are seeing growth. And we're constantly looking for ways that we can collaborate together so that we're not creating redundancy. So absolutely, the same trends occurring in pediatrics.
Thank you, Pat.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Patty. Thanks for all the great work that UH does. To wrap up, just an announcement for next week. We're going to start early. Our meeting's going to start at 7:15 a.m. So we will start with our invocation and our pledge, and then we will move right into our speaker, and that is to accommodate our speaker's schedule for next week. We have a foundation board meeting in the Greenwood Dining Room following our meeting today. I'd like to thank our greeters, Ed Sogan and Roseanne Drake, our audiovisual crew, Tom Page, James Field was here today, John Hairston, Dan Rich, Ron Barnhouse. Thanks again to Bella and James for handling the audio today, audio-visual. And our Rotabuck today is $24. It's going up. And our jackpot is $733. Okay, so Lynn drew the winning number, and it is 3231. 3231. All right, Brad.
I got 323. You might get it.
3231. All right. Got it. And here's your, you can see the blue mark. All right.
Take it out.
Oh. Thank you so much. Have a great day today.